Bomb ba ba bomb ba bomb ba bomb bomb ba bomb ba ba bomb dang a dang dang digga dang digga dang ding. Let's try that again. Bomb ba ba bomb ba bomb ba bomb bomb ba ba bomb ba ba bomb dang 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 digga digga dang ding. Blue. There we go. Greetings. Aloha from Earth and salutations from space, friends. Welcome to Starry Telling Hours. That's right, it is miércoles, Mercury's Day, Wednesday at 11:11 a.m. Pacific time, and that means Starry Telling Hours, where we together ask the questions that enter the portals to the celestial mysteries. A little bit late today because I was showing Koa one of my favorite games because the family has expanded significantly and we are in sensitive time of now a 10-day-old baby. Baby Maya was born on Father's Day and she is amazing and we're doing great. Mama has been an all-star and Koa is made to be a brother. He's so sweet with her. I was tripping yesterday because she was just about 9 days old at the same time that Koa was just about 9 years old. And so we were playing with the wonderful fractal timing technique that we astrologers call secondary progressions, where we turn days into years, because Maya's 9-day-old chart would progress to a 9-year chart that's similar to Koa's. And then we were tripping as well because yesterday Maya had her first road trip. She was born with 4 planets in Gemini. So the promise is that she'll dig the road. And fortunately she does. Because you'd never know until it's going down, right? But she really took to the car seat and she really took to the car, and we drove for, I don't know, 45 minutes to the pediatrician to get a check-in and all that. And just super busy day. She had her appointment, then we went to lunch, then Koa had an appointment there, and then we came home, and she did really well with it. So a thing I was tripping on was that in profections, which is a different thing than progressions, a 9th house year, and they come around every 12 years. The first of them is when we turn 8. So I actually meant to say a 10th house year, which just happens when we turn 9. When you turn 9 years of age, you enter your 10th year, right? So we say the ascendant profects to the 10th, which is about the outer world and our public, appearance and that, our legacy and much more. And intriguingly, if we kind of combine many of the cosmic kung fu techniques like progressions and profections, I can play with, well, a 9-day-old progresses to a 9-year-old, which would be profected to a 10th house sign. And it's the first day when she kind of gets out of the house and into the world and shows herself. And then we looked back through photos from when Koa was 9 days old. And it turns out it was his first day outside too. He didn't get as far from home, but that too is expressed in their charts. So sorry to make this all about my family. What's up, soul family? We're all family. I got all my sisters with me. And, I wanted to just mention that while today we are going to speak about the mysteries of blue moon, asking these questions, what in the heavens is a blue moon and what does it do? We'll ask the former first and then the latter. I also want to just talk a little bit of real time. Today is Wednesday. We start at 11:11 a.m. Pacific time every Wednesday, miércoles, Mercury's Day here in Starry Telling Hour. But this particular Wednesday is June 26th, 2024, which means the sun is in tropical Cancer. having found his way to the Tropic of Cancer, which is what happens when the sun ingresses. Tropical Cancer, it's North Stis, I call it. Why? Because North Stis means Earth's North Pole is leaning towards the light, as it does in one moment each year. That's the sun moving into tropical Capricorn, shining directly above Earth's Tropic of Capricorn. That's right, tropical astrology is astronomical. It is earth-astronomical, and like so many sacred systems of ancient wisdom traditions, the tropical signs are directionally aligned to this point and this, the poles: Cancer, Capricorn, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and the equinox signs, of course, at Earth's equator. So we have reached the most northern point of the zodiac. We should say the sun has reached the most northern point of the zodiac because of Earth's annual orbit. And so we're in this Cancer month. Cancer moon, maybe. And we're going to play that game a little bit today about the cycles of gold, solar cycles, and the cycles of silver, lunar cycles, and why their rhythms are kind of, they rarely synchronize. It brings about a bunch of beautiful polyrhythmic music. And maybe we'll talk about polyrhythms a bit today too. But I did want to speak about this moment now. If you are on my list, please be on my list. You sign up at GeminiBreath.com. Then yesterday you would have received the Weekly Planet, obviously a play on the Daily Planet, the paper that Clark Kent and Lois Lane worked for. I'm sure I'm not the first astrologer to release a Weekly Planet. The goal is to get them out on Sunday or Moon Day. But last week it was Wednesday. This week it was Tuesday. So maybe I'm getting there again. Things are a little tricky. It's a baby in the house, you know. And if you don't, I hope you will, because it's amazing. So anyway, if you're on my list, you would have seen the Weekly Planet yesterday, where one of the things I'm doing there is describing what's happening in constellations in the School of Astrology's membership group for the week ahead. Another thing I do is talk about what's going to happen on Storytelling Hours. And then the other thing is, unless there's some particular thing that I'm promoting, like a summit or a course or whatever, it's just to describe what's happening in the naked eye sky this week. And then I offer a couple scavenger hunts, a couple things to go out and do, see with your own eyes in the sky, and space with your face. And this week there's two kind of profound shifts in the naked eye sky. Or let me say events. One of these is shift. Another one kind of a beautiful kind of rarity. Neither, by the way, are a blue moon. But one is a lunar occultation of Saturn, which means the moon will visibly pass in front of Saturn, engulfing Saturn into her beautiful body. And then, Saturn will re-emerge, reborn on the other side. Now, like all occultations, including solar eclipses, this moon-Saturn occultation is not seen everywhere on Earth. I'm actually living in a place where it would be visible, except that it's daytime. So, I mean, I could like telescope enough to find Saturn's shape. And you know what? Maybe I will try that, at least with my zoom lens, because I'll know where to look. The charts will tell me when. If I use the parallax moon button, and then the moon will show me where. Because the moon will be conjoining Saturn as she does every month, every tropical month, which is like 27 1/3 days, a little bit more if Saturn's moving direct, a little bit less if Saturn's moving retrograde, as he's about to. Saturn stations retrograde this Saturn's day coming. But it's about every 27, 28 days when the moon will conjoin Saturn in the zodiac. Well, that's a conjunction by longitude. And typically it will be the moon beneath Saturn or the moon above, depending on where on Earth you're looking from. But every now and then, their nodes are aligned in such a way that we actually get moon completely occulting Saturn, hiding Saturn from our view. Well, what does it mean? So let me just say before I go there that the lucky sky seekers for this particular occultation reside in Eastern Australia, in northern New Zealand, places nearby like Fiji, and other islands in that South Pacific zone close to Fiji will be able to experience clouds allowing moon occulting Saturn. It's like in Australia time, it's like 1 a.m. this Friday, June 28th. So be there. Now, if you're not there, remember, in geocentric astrology, we are measuring not from the surface of the earth where we live, breathe, and can witness these heavenly happenings, but rather from the center of the earth where we are all one. Let's come together. Y'all who know me, y'all who spend time in constellations, will have experienced this before. Usually, and I'll actually do it, I'm going to start in the north at the roots. If you live in the southern hemisphere, that would be the direction south beneath the ground. In the northern hemisphere, north beneath the ground, the IC, the Imam Shelley, the tomb and the womb from which we will rise again, the roots, the ancient ones. Just drinking from that well of ancestors, founders, history. Well, rising up there to the east, the place of the rise. How can I do this new? And how can I shift old patterns where I've been stuck? How can I, like the fountain of the youth, allow myself to be refreshed and renewed? We'll bring that rise up to the reach, the MC, the median Celli, the middle of the heavens. How can I shine my light? And when that gets tiring or overbearing, it's good to remember that what goes up must come down. We bring it to the rest in the west, back to earth, back to the ground. And I will again root where I began, bringing all of that journey back to the ancestors. For I will one day become one. And perhaps I already have. You know, it's said that in Kemet, the land we now call Egypt, there was no word for death. They simply said westing. For it was known that what rested in the west after it traveled through the Duat, the underworld, would rise again. And this, of course, the daily motion, thanks to the rotation of our planet. Yes. Okay. Well, after I do all that, then I do this, and I will ask you, please, to do this with me, regardless of where you are in space and time. Please reach your arms up above your head. Oh, and really get that stretch. You might want to stand. Now, you are pointing to a different star than I am. The above is completely particular to your surface location, as is culture, climate, and so much more. And by the way, where the sun and the planets currently are in the astrological houses, which are expression of the surface. But I ask you now to reach down through your spine while you keep your hands raised up towards that particular zenith above your head. Reach down. Don't go all the way to the nadir. That's the top of the sky for people on the other side of the world. Stop. Meet me at the middle. The heart of Earth, the hearth. For that is the one place where we all connect, where we are all one. So the above, the particular. The below, the whole. The above houses, the below signs. But before I go on, let's just do this together, please. Bring the energy of your unique cosmic orientation above at the zenith down, and bring the energy that we're all connected to, the roots, the heart of the earth up, and meet in the middle, the above and the below coming together in that seventh direction, which of course is the first. And I'm talking about the heart. Heart of sky, heart of earth, marrying at your heart. The seventh direction, which of course is the first, because the art of the chart starts in the heart. And it's really wonderful to be able to share my heart with you. Feeling is healing, is knowing, is growing. And my friends, that is what we are here to do. For when you grow, the one thing that ever was, is, and will be grows too. It's the only way it can. So why all of that? Because importantly, there's only particular places on the surface of Earth where this lunar occultation of Saturn will be visible. Now, scavenger hunt for all of us is wake up and see Moon conjoin Saturn this week. If you reside in the Pacific time zone where I do, and I see some of you, Moon will conjoin Saturn at 7:57 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday, June 27th. Now, you're going to want to go out before then. You're going to want to go out before sunrise. Okay? So you can actually see Saturn, and so you can see Moon and Saturn nearby, and they'll be very close. Now, if you live in Hawaii, Moon will conjoin Saturn before sunrises, and so you'll get to see the beautiful ringed ones, Saturn and Moon, close by. This is amazing. Oh, synchronicity. Is it? Coincidence. Is it? Oh, fractal between Moon and Saturn. Or let me say Moon, Sun, and Saturn. The phases of the Moon work in a 29.5-day cycle. And by the way, as I do, I'm planting seeds that we will witness sprouting as we explore what in the heavens is a blue moon and what does it do. The moon's sun cycle, which we call a synodic cycle, synod meaning meeting, is a 29.5-day affair. 29.53059 days on average, but who is counting? We are. So 29.5 days for consecutive moon-sun conjunctions, right? And then the sun sends the moon out until the moon is opposite the sun in Earth's zodiac. Moon fully reflecting sunlight back to Earth, right? And then comes back, waxing for about 2 weeks, waning for about 2 weeks, right? 29.5 days, new moon to new moon. Or we could measure full moon to full moon, 29.5 days. Well, fascinatingly, Saturn's transit is, people teach 30 years, but it's 29.5 years. For Saturn to get all the way through the 12 signs of Earth's zodiac, which, as far as I'm concerned, expand from the crystal core of our planet outwards towards the heavens and are aligned to Gaia's spine, the sword of our stone, the world tree, Earth's rotational axis, which defines the cardinal directions. The tropical zodiac, like so many systems of ancient wisdom traditions, my friends, is directionally aligned. In fact, I would suggest its signs are directionally defined. Perhaps you heard me say that like 10 minutes ago. Well, I learned this one from NASA. Redundancy is built into every great space mission. Now, what is this weird fractal between lunar phase, which is not just the moon, but the moon and the sun from Earth's point of view, and therefore all three parts of the philosophy of the whole world, to quote from the Emerald Tablets: spirit, soul, and matter, sun, moon, and earth, circle, crescent, and cross. When you look at the moon, you're engaged with sunlight reflected in a unique way that will never repeat, and sipped by your earthly eye like a wonderful cup of jade frog tea. Thanks, Kirsten. Y'all check out Jade Frog Tea if you want to drink the real stuff. All right. So we have this beautiful fractal. I mean, earlier, just because of what happened yesterday with my daughter, 9 days old, and the boy about 9 years old, right? Playing with secondary progressions. Well, we have this really amazing thing that happens in progress time, which is your progressed lunar phase return will happen when you're 29 and a half years old, and that will be the same time as your Saturn return. Now, it's not time for us to get into Saturn phases because I would have to share why it's give or take, and it's actually a period of time rather than a moment. So I will leave it there for now. If I didn't, we would talk about why the second Saturn return at 59 might be a little bit more aligned than the first at 29 and a half or 29 to 30. But as I said, we're not going there. Okay. Where are we going? We're going back to the center of the Earth, okay? Because yes, while this Moon-Saturn occultation will be experienced visibly by only a certain patch terrestrially, and again, that's kind of Eastern Australia, Northern New Zealand, Fiji, and nearby zones. You could just search 2024 Saturn occultation, you'll get to it. And by the way, the day after, Saturn will occult Neptune. Now, I didn't write about that in my letter, and maybe I should have, because you can't see Neptune with your eyeballs. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It's beautiful and amazing. And Earth can probably see Neptune, isn't it? And perhaps she could teach me a little grammar while she's at it. Doesn't they? And I'm thinking about bringing the invisible beings into my weekly letter as well, since I'm starting to add more and more astrology every week. The astrology I spoke about this week was how the spillways for the river of compassion, deep feeling, and faith are opening now. And that it's a wonderful time to call your fam and to remind them how much you love them. And so let me support that again with these two wonderful astronomical events this week that I encourage you to go see with your eyes. It's scavenger hunt time. And then we'll get to the topic at hand. But, you know, all of this is feeding into it, friends. So please just stay with me. These many branches I'm called to climb all emanate from the same trunk. An important mantra for the Gemini design. I'll have to remember that as a dad for the next rest of my life. Okay, so yes, only certain surface areas will experience Moon occulting Saturn. I encourage you to go see Moon conjunct Saturn regardless. So this will be Thursday morning or Friday if you reside across the date line from me. Time is such a strange thing, but it is not a human construct, friends. Date lines certainly are, but days are not. That's a rotation. Years are not. That's an orbit. This is part of this beautiful place that offers the appearance, at least the appearance of time and space, which is necessary if we want to grow, make moves, which we do first through feeling. Feeling opens healing. Healing opens knowing. Knowing opens growing. And redundancy is built into every great space mission. Welcome aboard. So while only a certain terrestrial patch will experience visibly this terrestrial powerful event of Moon occulting Saturn, it is happening at Earth's center too. Now, when the rationalists come and tell you, you ridiculous astrologer, you think some planet way out there has any effect on you. Now, you can start getting into tidal forces. And actually, I can show you just using Newton's physics, if we want to believe them, that Jupiter actually does have a measurable tidal force on you. But how about this? As far as where the planets are in the signs, and therefore are in relationship to one another, are in aspect to one another, we are not measuring from the surface where we live, breathe, and can witness these heavenly happenings. No, we are measuring from the center of the earth where we, as all earthlings, connect in every moment of time. In other words, geocentric astrology is measuring your experience of Earth's experience of the heavenly happenings. You think Jupiter has any pull on Earth? Saturn? So if in any way a conjunction of Moon and Saturn, not only by longitude, which is zodiac degree, but also by latitude, distance north or south of the sun's path, the zodiac, if in any way that has an energetic contribution to Earth's experience, then it has an energetic contribution to your experience, because, my friends, you are an earthling. Your bones are her stones. Dig that. So just because you don't see it, you don't... Wait, what? Just because you don't see it doesn't mean you don't be it. I'm forgetting my own poor grammar cliches. Cliche around here anyway. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean you don't be it. So I won't be able to see from California a Moon-Saturn occultation. I will hopefully, depending on family matters, wake up early enough to go watch the Moon-Saturn conjunction, and bring my intentions, my prayers, and my affirmations, and I'll suggest them for you if you are interested. I know that shortly after I watch that conjunction in my own local sky, there will be an occultation, and maybe some technology will let me see that, even though the sun will have risen where I reside. But I know that this occultation, this powerful alignment of Moon and Saturn, not only by longitude, but also by latitude as well, is happening for Earth, and therefore happening for me, and for you, and for you, and for you, and for you. Emmy writes, and Mercury is trining Saturn now as we speak. Awesome, because I want to talk about Mercury too, in an amazing astronomical event this week. And I don't mean to take 20, whatever, 7, almost 30 minutes on this bit. But I think it's okay. Because while we want to tune into the moment now, I also want to leave messages for the future that relates to all time and space, like what is a blue moon and what does it do? But the moment now will set it up. And if we speak about universal and global truth, then they will not wrinkle with age. But we do. Why? Because time is not an illusion, actually. At least not to the mortal part of self, which is very important. And we should remember that matter matters. Now, what does Moon-Saturn occultation mean? Miriam, by the way, asked, how often does Moon occult Saturn? Which is a wonderful question. I'm sorry to say it's one that I cannot answer. I see, as I close my eyes, the orbital dynamics that are necessary for this to happen. But it leads me to a hypothesis, but it's one I'm not going to state. There are ways we could explore that, probably, or just seek the information that people have already calculated. But I'll just say it has a lot to do with Saturn's nodes and position, and then, of course, the Moon's nodes and her position as well. There are going to be certain places in the zodiac where it is possible, and certain places where it is not. And so we know, because we have this coming moon Saturn occultation in the 20th degree of tropical Pisces, that at least in our day and age, and this will shift with the movement of Saturn's nodes over time, that Pisces is one of these places where a moon Saturn occultation is possible. Now, when I first started typing about this, it was like, okay, you know, Saturn, who can be beautiful boundaries, it can also be difficult boundaries, right? I often teach Saturn in a way like a wall that we push against until we are strong enough to break through, or wise enough to see the stairs that are built into that wall that will help us climb to the heavens, right, with wisdom. And that takes time. Saturn can be harsh, but we need it. Saturn, interestingly, like the slowest moving visible planet, right? So actually, why slowest? Because furthest away. And somehow that has so much to do with us being here. And so I click on the cup, because Saturn in many ways regards is form, right? And so like this wonderful tea is currently taking the shape of this cup. You know, like, I find that amazing and endless. And that cup would kind of be the Saturn in the situation. It's even ringed. This tea, by the way, is also old and aged. It's very Saturn. And like Saturn, who traditionally is associated with both Capricorn and Aquarius, I feel in Saturn, in this tea, old roots grounding us and branches reaching into the highest heavens. Capricorn and Aquarius kind of work in that way in my heart. Saturn in Pisces is an interesting thing because we're kind of talking about the rules of dreams, the boundaries of boundarylessness. It seems quite ironic. It feels like a paradox. I might even say the framework of all that ever was, is, and will be. You know, good luck with that. But as Moon comes here, one thing about Saturn in Pisces is it might be kind of like, hey, stiff upper lip. Boundaries. You know, this is a thing that I experience often as a counselor of amazing mystics, is that they, like me, have kind of released a bunch of the rigid programming that keeps us from connecting to our, youthful magic and intelligence. And suddenly, once we start shedding some of that armor, then we start receiving all of this energetic information, and it can be difficult to even go to a grocery store because there's so much energy around, let alone the airport, right? It's kind of the ultimate test. Concerts, whatever, you know, I once I started opening my intuitive facilities, was not able to go to bars anymore. I was also sober. It was tricky. I was a musician. I had to stop playing in the bands I was in, because I'd go out and play, and even though I wasn't drinking, I would wake up hungover, right? And so oftentimes I'm counseling people who are just starting to get in there, and they're just kind of walking around with like a chunk of tourmaline. And, you know, like I used to go to these like festivals when I first started, like coming back out to public, and I just have to like blow tobacco all over myself, like just keep like a shield. And unfortunately, my friend Emily at one point was like, hey, why don't you try some like rose quartz instead of that tourmaline? Now I can't pick some, there's all sorts of things I could show you here, but I can't show you rose quartz right now. I have a piece over there, but you know, these are this like can still be a great helper friend. So I'm not trying to like tell you that if in any way you feel that you're in a time where you need some kind of protection, or just like to have a skin to know where you stop and where the others begin, which is really important, right? Then do what you do. But I really appreciate that invitation from my friend at that time, maybe even a challenge, which helped me see like, okay, wait a second. No, when we just like start with love, then shielding's not even necessary in that kind of cosmos. And also, when you are like full of you, when you know who you are, then there's no room for anything else to come in. So especially if you stop like bleeding your water and just trying to give and give and give, unless like there's consent and exchange, then your cup is full. And by the way, then the water can still flow over the top. You don't have to cut a hole in the bottom because you feel guilty for being in the place of privilege or reception or whatever. Like the answer to that is gratitude. And then we have flow that can extend to those who we love and who offer consent for energetic exchange. So, I mean, like this is all Saturn stuff in Pisces. And it's weird to try to, I'm just realizing maybe blue moon is a topic for another time. It is not the blue moon this month. Let's see. Let's talk more about time. So, you know, like think about what happens if you bring a digital watch underwater. Yeah, I mean, some of you are divers here, so you're like, mine can take it. This once you get lower and there's more pressure, it's kind of like Saturn, you know, like they stop working. You know, underwater, it's kind of timeless. And we feel that so much like in dream world, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of there with Saturn and Pisces. I really wish Saturn and Neptune would meet in Pisces, but I'm also kind of intrigued by their upcoming meeting, which will happen in the sign of Aries, right at the first degree, right at the east point of the Earth. Time and timelessness. It's like hilarious that I actually thought I could speak about these things briefly as we began here. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to do 2 different jams today. I'm going to actually end this and start a new one. So we can tune into Blue Moon and I can kind of have that as a statement. Okay. Yes. So what happens when Moon occults Saturn? You know, I start with, have you studied eclipse, like solar eclipse? What happens when the moon, in a sense, like hides the sun and then the light is reborn? Like the symbolism is pretty clear, right? We go into the shadow to find new light. I mean, when Saturn disappears, it's not like it's going to get dark everywhere on Earth and the birds act like at nighttime and things that happen during solar eclipse, right? It's a very different study. But Saturn's reflection of sunlight to earthly eyes is lost for a moment's time. So that can happen in a few different ways. One, it happens every time Saturn sets, or when Saturn is above the ground and the sun's up, so it happens at sunrise. It happens also when Saturn's so close to the sun that Saturn's under the beams and we just can't see Saturn even when rising before the sun or setting after sun. We're very much not in a time like that now. Saturn's rising like at midnight, a little bit after right now, which is wild because I feel like it was so recently that I first witnessed Saturn being reborn as a morning star. Wild. What is it when Moon hides Saturn and then Saturn is born again after that short passage, that short embrace? So what I wrote in my email was like, look, Saturn in Pisces, it might be this, I need to protect myself. I didn't write this actually. I need to protect myself from all the fields out there, all the psychic information. There's too much, like I need Saturn. Because Pisces really is, it's the waters that connect us all that ever was, is, and will be. There's like Plotinus P in this water. Yum. The futures in that also, right? It's like Pisces stuff. And so sometimes we need some framework around that. And, you know, I think also Saturn and Pisces, there might be a little bit of like, okay, well, the new age, can sometimes be the new cage. Be careful not to believe everything you're told, like have some discernment. You know, look for yourself, have your own journey, and find faith, which is through your own experience, which is the only way to gain wisdom, expertise. You will find that there are things that are real, but things that you can't see or can't show, at least. And, you know, we have to have faith in these things. For me, that's faith. It's certainly not just the belief system that somebody told you to believe. You feel me? And so, you know, Saturn and Pisces can be beautiful. There's challenges to it as well. I think a huge piece, especially in modern time, is, you know, like look at how you are controlled through compassion and protect yourself against that. And then find in your own light how you will utilize compassion as a force, and you will utilize faith as a force, so it can't be used against you, right? So that's always for me, like as a, you know, Scorpio magician, if you will, like I want to do these energies rather than doing me. I want to work with them instead of for them even. So I wrote, like, look, Moon, Saturn, it's like there's this dam that is trapping the river of compassion and faith, and it's about to break. And I was like, wait a second, that's like way too Mars and just not Moon. Most dams actually have spill gates and you can open them. And so that's the feel for me, that the moon is actually opening the spill gates of the river of compassion and faith. And quickly, as I often do, I heard beautiful lyrics sung by Pepper Proud, first on her album called Water, where she wrote, I think, 13 songs for water. And went to amazing places like Trinity Hot Springs to kind of receive and channel these water messages. But this song was also later recorded by her band Yaima with Masaru Higasa. It's a wonderful band. I hope you know about Yaima, Y-A-I-M-A. I think it's yaimamusic.com. Let me find out. Yes. And I will throw that in the link here. Check out Yaima. They are amazing. I'll put that in the link. Let me actually look specifically at Destiny by Yaima. And I will add that link from their Bandcamp page. I'm going to talk about Mercury here. I'm going to end this video for a little bit, and then we'll come back into Blue Moon space on a separate video, so I can honor my promise. Yeah, the spill gates of compassion and faith opening. So this song, Destiny by Pepper Proud, such a beautiful lyric. It's rain doesn't doubt it will end up in the sea. Doesn't seem to worry about its destiny. And for me, that completely opens the portal of the energetic contribution that this Moon Saturn occultation has to offer for all of Earth and therefore all of us. Now, second scavenger hunt this week. Mercury is returning. Venus will return soon in the theater called You. And by the way, my next class in constellations is all about that. So as I do every week, I'm about to put a constellations link into the chat here. GeminiBrett.com/constellations will get you there. It is the School of Astrology's membership group. We are still offering it the maiden voyage price, which is ridiculously cheap, $16 a month or $160 for the year of Earth astrology. Every month I teach an Earth astrology class, that is astrology and astronomy from an embodied point of view. We have Astro Herbalism classes by Amala Hall. She's amazing. Astro Embodiment practice videos, offerings, live sessions by Alyssa Luna of In the Moon's Den. She's amazing. Astro Tarot transmissions from Phelan Shiva. She's amazing. It's been wonderful. I mean, I see you, Diane and Heather and Emmy and so many others who are part of Constellations. Now I see you, Dawn. We've been having a wonderful time connecting in community discussion every week. And then there's these transmissions throughout the course of the month. My next transmission will be on July 6th. I do them on first Saturdays using that Gregorian trip so that we can find a time to meet. Eventually, I want to create my own more cosmically aligned calendar, and maybe we'll use that. But for now, first Saturdays every month at 9 a.m. Pacific. And of course, everything is recorded. I'm going to be speaking about the return of the global goddess of Venus, who has been gone to our visible experience for 2 months. And Venus soon will be reborn as an evening star. Now, a rule that we use is Venus separated from the sun by 10 degrees. That is July 10th. But it really depends upon the cycle, where on Earth you are looking from, especially the sign in which Venus and Sun will reside. The 10-degree separations in the last degree of tropical Cancer for Venus. But many of us will see Venus until she has jumped the wall into Leo. It really depends, again, where you're looking from. It's often like this, that the seed planted by the retrograde Venus-Sun conjunction, which in this case, in this cycle, was August 13th, 2023, about 20th degree of tropical Leo. It's typically that sign where Venus also then later on, after her death and rebirth, returns visibly as an evening star. And I will be speaking much more about that, and especially in this class. It's going to be worth a lot more than $16. You can sign up for Constellations now and quit at any time. Come on in. So GeminiBrett.com/constellations. In those teachings, we also connect as group, and we look at specific chart examples. Okay. But now, this week, Mercury is returning from the beams of the sun. And the ancients told us that when a planet shifts from visibility to invisibility, or from invisibility to visibility, as it will be for Mercury this week, that at that time, that planet saturates the chart. So what might it mean for Cancer Mercury to saturate the chart? How about more messages of familiar love, both in giving and receiving? Look at that Cancer glyph. It wants to be balanced. So give and then see if that opens up more gateways for receive. Receive and see if that opens more gateways for give. Of course, the Cancer glyph is actually the sun moving 6 months south, stopping to turn around, move 6 months north. But let's leave the astronomy out of it for now. No, let's not. Go see this. End of the week, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday into next week, go watch the sunset. Look to the northwest where the sun is currently setting, because the tropical zodiac is a directional device. And wait to see Mercury. He's a trickster. He sets not soon after the sun, not long after the sun does. And so you'll see him kind of in this weird wavy place where there's water molecules and pollution and such, and kind of looks like a star or a plane. You're like, is that? Yeah. And bring a message and ask for a message. Now, I suggest, well, let me just share what I will be bringing to Moon Saturn is I am opening the spillway of compassion and faith. Guide me through this. Moon, who moves so quickly, Saturn, who moves so slowly, please work together to help me stay true in my love for all beings and all that ever was, is, and will be. Mercury's return in Cancer. Hey, dude, please help me contact all of my fam and let them know I love them, whether they are here on Earth or have already passed, whether I know of who they were or I never did, my ancestors. And remember that family is not limited to bloodlines. Mercury will return to our visibility in Cancer, and that means in our day and age with the constellational twins. Constellations and signs are very different things, and I love them both. Now, if you know the story of the twins, Castor died, and his immortal brother Pollux offered his immortality in exchange for the opportunity to spend every day at his brother's side in death as they had done in life. Zeus, his father, said, "You don't know what you're talking about. You're my son. You have a gateway to Olympus, to the heavens. Castor is mortal. He's in Hades. You don't want to go there, believe me." And Pollux said, "I don't care what it's like. I will be with my brother." And Zeus said, "Look, how about this? How about your brother's in Hades, you're in Olympus, except every year you will switch. And when you do, one day each year, as you switch places, heaven and hell, you will spend one day at each other's side. Is that enough for you to suffer hell every other year simply to see your brother one day a year?" And Pollux said, "Dad, you're giving me two gifts. I get to see my brother every year, and I get to give him the release of heaven. And I will take his place, and we will alternate, and I will see him." Yes, I agree. And so Jupiter was like, "Dude, you pass." I didn't even know it was a test, but what an amazing show of true family love, of true empathy. And so he rearranged the deal, and instead he cast the brothers Castor and Pollux in the heavens together forever at each other's side. But like all constellations of the sun's track, the heart of the zodiac, the twins rise and set every day. Together, they spend half their time in hell below and in the heavens above. And it's a great teaching to us and a great reminder that with Mercury and Cancer, it's like the family phone is open. One, we're all family. Like actually, Castor and Pollux had the same mother, Leda, but different fathers, though they were both hatched through swan's eggs. Do with that what you will. That we also have the ability to connect to family below and above. So folks that are still here, or maybe never even seem to have landed and have already left, whether you know them or not. So I suggest that with this Moon-Saturn occultation, that you go see the Moon-Saturn conjunction. Again, Thursday morning before sunrise, or Friday, like 1 a.m. Australia time is when the occultation is visible. So Thursday, Friday, cast your own charts. You have the power. And will yourself and ask for support if you'd like to open that spillway of compassion and faith, knowing that it can also close and that you have control. And the dam isn't a bad idea. We can actually create energy. You just don't want to ruin the river through greed. And you certainly don't want to keep the river ever from flowing. 2, go see the return of Mercury, end of this week, as evening star. Now, maybe we'll talk Mercury cycles at another time. That really, there's so much there. It's Mercury. There's a lot of information, geometry, harmony, astronomy, so much more that I love to show. It's a great code. That's a course, not a storytelling hour. Anyway, maybe in the comments, write if you're interested in having a Mercury course in number magic and sacred geometry and musical harmony and astronomy and astrology, right? The quadrivium, the sacred sciences. It's one that I love to teach. And I can make that a thing with Mercury's help. So yeah, asking for more ability to share the messages of nurturing and love. Share means not only giving. Mani, I see yes, please, for Mercury course. All right, we need at least 3. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I do want to talk blue moon. I need to check in with the family. I hear a crying baby, for example. But I wish to and believe I will be back on in 6 minutes at 12:12 p.m. Pacific time to talk about what is a blue moon and what does it do, as promised to you. So I hope to see you then. By the way, I think I will do that only. Well, no, I'll broadcast it to all of these places. So join me then. See you in space, friends. Thanks for spending some time with me. The present of your presence is the greatest gift. If I do not return in 6 minutes' time, it's because it's family time, and we'll do it next week or when the blue moon aligns in July. Or was that August? Or was that November? Depends on who you ask. All right. Anyway, this message had to come through for the current timings, and hopefully it lands. See you in space, friends.